Woo. Nice brisk morning here. All right, we are here again once more for one more round of my morning walks. Let's do it. Before we start walking, as usual, I'm gonna stop here and do my stretch. But in any case, welcome once more to the channel. Welcome to I Stutter. This is where that we talk about speech impediments, stammering, stuttering, however that you wish to call it. And today I want to talk about fear, which is probably going to take several videos for me to complete this subject. Fear is a big deal when it comes to dealing with your speech impediment and or trying to manage it as well. Fear is one of the hallmarks of having a speech impediment. So all right, let's go ahead and speak about the topic of fear. So now, granted that I think it was my first video on this channel, or probably the second video, but I did say that every stutterer do not stutter for the same reason or have the same triggers. And since that is the case, when you're doing speech therapy, there isn't going to be a set step program for you to follow, because every stutterer will not be the same. But most likely, if you stutter or have some kind of a speech issue, more than likely you're gonna have fear. You have to deal with fear, because when it comes to these issues, these speech problems, fear is a big issue, because the funny thing is, your fear will most likely play a role of how fluent you are during any given period of time. Now, in my lifetime, I've met several people with the same issue that I have, and there was only one of them that didn't seem to have any fear. I mean, she would jump in any kind of kind of speaking situation without thinking twice. She didn't seem to have fear, but most of the people who I've met also dealt with it the same as I have. So this fear will most likely be social fears. Fears that you get when you're in school, fear that you get when you're going to class, fear that you get when you are meeting new people, when you are around people. And this fear can be quite crippling should you not know how to manage it. Yeah, these neighbors' dogs are so annoying when I'm walking through here. But so it's very important to know how to manage this fear or these fears, because growing up, especially in my teen, breaking out into society, school and stuff like that, because I remember that I used to go through these periods of intense fear, which I've sometimes I felt like my heart was gonna pound like right out of my chest, whether it was in class, and the teacher was having the students read, and everybody's taking their turn, and the moment starts to build up when your turn is next, or it's even worse when it's random, like the teacher would call on individuals to read, like, no warning, and it gets so, and this fear builds up, and man, so what I'll be sharing with you is just, like, some of the fears and what that you can do to help yourself when this situation comes. As we are closing the first lap, should be a very silent side of the track because all the barking dogs are on this side. So, fear. So again, the fear that we are speaking about today will be, like, social fears, mainly speaking, like, public speaking, reading in class. So now, of course, this might not work for you, but chances are it probably will. So I thought to share what works for me. So this is what I wish someone told me when I was, like, in my teens, really struggling with this, is that first and foremost, the more relaxed you are, most likely the more fluent you will be. So if you're going to class, for example, right? If you're going to class and it's a reading class, or that the teacher will be calling on to you to read, most likely, before the class starts, I would say start to take deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out of your mouth. The purpose for that is to lower possibly your blood pressure, your anxiety, because your anxiety is probably going to start going through the roof because you know that you stutter and you know how you read, how you speak, and the anticipation of feeling embarrassed is going to start to mess with you, making you breathe faster, start sweating. You need to remain as calm as you possibly can. So long breaths, calm breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth will help. Now, that will not make you become all the way calm, but it's going to make you feel better and calm you down at least just a hair. Because remember, you want to be as calm going into your speech or going into your reading. You need to be as calm as you possibly can. And this will do at least something. Oh man, do some more stretching. I'm an old man. So that was my first advice. My next advice for fighting fear, because again, fear is a hallmark of stuttering. You will need to manage it. Most of you out there with it will need to manage it because chances are you've built up fears because of it. So my next advice to fight fear, social fear, do not avoid the situation. I remember in the 9th or the 10th grade, we had this classroom presentation to make, and I remember day after day and day after day, as my time got closer and closer and closer, I was getting more and more and more nervous, more and more fearful. I came up with the excuse that I lost it, and I chose to take the 0. And the next time that I had to do an oral presentation, the fear was twice as worse. So that was when I kind of figured out that the more you avoid doing these things, as in reading in class or meeting new people or placing yourself in a speech, a demanding situation, the more fear that you will build. So do not avoid them, okay? Not saying that you have to go head first into every speaking situation, but if it comes to you, if it's something that comes to you, like if you're in class and you have to do a some kind of a oral report, do not avoid. Don't do what I did back when I was in the 10th grade. Do not avoid doing it. Try. So there's one more thing that I forgot to add with the relaxation advice. Okay, like as for why is it important to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and why do that? This is what I realized, because I could think of, like, situations when I was very fearful and very anxious because I had to do some kind of presentation orally in front of a lot of people. In every situation, this is what happens as a result of trying to be as calm as possible before I start speaking. Okay, one of two things are going to happen. One thing that could happen is, since I'm very relaxed, that will actually make me be completely fluent, as in I say what needs to be said and actually sound fluent. Or the other thing that will happen, because it's either or, it's one of those two things that happen. It's either I'm completely fluent because I was relaxed, or should I stutter, the way I stutter is going to be different, as in it's called too easy stutter, as in you are stuttering but you're moving consistently through your words because you're calm. For example, if you're not relaxed and you're fearful and you're trying to say something simple like the sky is blue, you might say and stay stuck mercilessly where that you are at the mercy of it until you magically come out of it, which can take minutes. But if you're calm enough, if you constantly trying to relax and move through your words, you might say something like the sky is blue. It's still a stutter, but it's a big difference compared to being just stuck. So that's why it's important to be as relaxed as possible. Now there is one more thing about that, which is called time anxiety, which I'm going to cover in a different video. So one final comment that I'm going to make concerning fear, and this comment, because I think it's something that we know as people, okay? I'm sure that we know it, but there's one thing that I realized at 45 years old. There's a lot of things that we know, but it doesn't mean that it's sunk in. Because there's a difference, I think, when you know something and when it's sunk in. Like you get it now. Because the difference is your actions. Your actions. Like, for example, we know that we are going to die someday. But for most people, that knowledge hasn't sunk in. Why? Because, for example, they waste their precious time on dumb stuff. That shows me that knowledge of you knowing that there's going to be a time when you won't be here anymore. You know it, but it's like, meh. But I've met people who, like me, that at the stage of their lives, they get it now. There's going to be a time when you're going to cease to exist. We don't waste our time on dumb stuff. Well, the last comment that I'm going to make about fear, I'm sure that we know this already, but if it hasn't sunk in with you, I'd like this thought to sink in with you as a person who has a speech impediment. So the next time that you find yourself in a room and you're about to read something out loud or you're about to give a speech, consider this and let this sink in, because you will see the room and the world entirely differently if you let this sink in. Don't just know it, but let it sink in. Everybody in the room that you're about to address, in 50 years, they will either be very old, dying, or dead. That's the first part of this thought process. Okay? And there's something that is kind of like, relaxing, rejuvenating about that. And the second part is this: if you care what the opposite sex is gonna think about you, like if you're a guy, you think about, man, there's a lot of hot chicks in here, I kind of don't wanna stutter because they're not gonna think I'm cool. Vice versa. Let me tell you what. If you're a guy like me, the way I see it, and you could apply it to yourself as a girl too, just like reverse anything, just reverse everything, is that to the people in the room, hey, you don't pay my bill, dude. You don't pay my bills. So I don't care what you think about me. As for the girls, hey, you are not dating me. You're not giving me any attention. You're not giving me any booty. So I don't care what you think. And for some reason, these two thoughts have helped me to relax and see it's not a big deal. So you're about to read or do a speech on a pulpit in front of people. All of a sudden, it goes from being this monumental thing to this nothing. And it all helps you to calm down. Because I'm pretty sure that if you, because I did a video back then when I said to study how you stutter, know what your triggers are. I'm pretty sure most of you out there who come across this channel, if you really study yourself, you'll notice that when you are in a state of complete relaxation, it's probably the point where you're the most fluent. So now you don't have to have these same thoughts, but pick thoughts that'll help you get the same feeling of, hey, this isn't a big deal. And those two thought processes, those two processes for me is what helped me to realize, hey, this is not a big deal. You don't pay my bills and you don't date me, so I don't care what you think. So this is what I had to say when it comes to social fears. I hope this helped you. These are things that I wish somebody told me back when I was in my teenage years, when I was lost with my speech impediment. I didn't know what to do about it. I was a slave to it. Didn't know how to deal with it at all. But today, this doesn't have to be you, because I'm a firm believer that as the previous generation, one of my jobs towards the next generation is to look back at them and tell them where the potholes are. And this is my way of sharing for people with the same issue as I have, which is speech. So I hope this helped you. This will help you to manage your fear, because chances are, if you have a speech impediment, you probably are dealing with fears as well. And till this day, I still deal with fear. Every time I got to read something and do some kind of a speech on a pulpit or read in class, It always happens, but these things has always helped me as well. So I thought this would be helpful. So as I finish my walk, I hope you guys are having a great time or a great day, and I will see you on the next one.